and does things, and then they say, "Oh, I've got the great idea. This is how we're going to fix things on our territory." And only, frankly, only a white man could be arrogant enough to think that they could pass laws and build all these institutions to prevent any problem from ever existing. And they do it with that intent, knowing full well that they're never going to avert the problems. I mean, we know nothing in nature exists without there being some conflict. I mean, everything going back to our creation story talks about that conflict. So we know that conflict exists. The question is, how do you deal with that conflict? And if you think you're just going to pass, some body of laws that's failed in every other society, American society. Look at the legal system of the United States, the judicial system of the United States. Look at the political system of the United States and what a debacle it is. And yet, this is one of the things that not just Rob, but now he's convinced a certain number of counselors and to buy into this thing. And to me, one of the biggest ironies of this is, and we hear this all the time. You'll hear a certain tone by some individuals who are so resentful of the business community. They'll talk about the greedy Seneca business people, and I've even heard people post things like, "Oh, we shouldn't even have private sector shouldn't be able to have stores. Only the nation should have a store." The irony of that is, do they feel the same way about the United States? That the United States should have no free enterprise? That you shouldn't go to Walmart. You should go to the USA department store. That that the United States should be just socialistic. So they embrace the free enterprise of the United States, but they don't want it on their own territory. I mean, because what they're asking for is not just socialism. It's more than that.
Sure.
It's authoritarian rule.
It comes at all levels. Too. It comes with what we'll call the educated and the Senecas that are less educated. Everybody seems to fall into that, or a lot of people seem to fall into it. But what we need to start asking our people that are going out to school, I'm all for higher education, but I want people to go out there to understand that they're also supposed to go out there to observe what's not working, what's wrong, and don't bring it back. In other words, I don't want to bring back the institutions that they're pitching because they don't work for them.
We should know them.
Sure.
And
you have to know them. You have to.
We should learn about them, not learn to be them.
Yeah. So, and that's it. So, don't bring it back. What I'm more interested in the educational spheres, whether it's college or any kind of higher learning, is that learn how to think. Learn how to think. Don't learn just about that box that they're trying to put you in and have put their people in and see how they're all struggling to find their identities and just bring those problems to our territory.
Well, and one of the problems even with higher education and for our people is if they don't have that foundation of who we are, our education, then as they're learning what the rest of the world has tried to accomplish with their institutions and with their regulations and with their laws, if they understood a little bit more who we were, they would understand the value of what would be a Seneca solution to that same problem.
Exactly.
And because they don't have that foundation, they don't that whole relationship with creation and that whole relationship with our children and the future generations and all that stuff that a lot of people treat as these trite expressions. If they don't understand that, then how can they look at the flaws of their system and then bolster something that would be either that we already had or something that can be based on something we already had instead of always following their model. Go ahead, Ed.
I ran to get on a ticket to run for council, and I didn't make it, but I was told by someone who was involved with the political system that so many people in the Seneca Nation referred to me as being idealistic. And I thought about that for a while because my response to that is simply that you go and talk to the people, doesn't matter whether they're in government or just on a territory or whatever. They believe that we're supposed to take care of the unborn children. They agree that we're supposed to take care of the elders. They agree that we're supposed to watch over our territory. All of those things they agree to. And when they say that, my thought is, okay, who's being idealistic here? If you believe you can take care of those things without learning our ways, without learning our history, culture, without learning the language,
or following a system that fails on all those
and
things.
literally participating in doing so, then who's being idealistic? You think that's just going to happen? And that's why my point is that what I said before is that sovereignty doesn't refer to rights. Sovereignty is referring to responsibilities. And one of our responsibilities is to teach our people how to be, what it means to be Ongwe'oe.
But another responsibility is to learn,
Learning.
to be willing to learn.
Not only learn, but learn how to learn. Okay, there's the education.
Well, and again, Paul, if our concept of sovereignty is geared more towards carrying ourselves, then that's a responsibility. I mean, carrying yourself isn't just having somebody stand you up so you can lean one way and let your feet follow.
That's exactly what it means. Is being responsible. That's why when I mentioned another time is that when we refer to our children, we don't say my son and my daughter. We say riya'a, keya'a, and that it means that you're protecting their birthright. You're protecting their birthright so that when they become of age, and that not meaning by years, but by their knowledge and what they demonstrate, then they can take full responsibility for themselves. But in the meantime, you're responsible for them because they're not your property. They're your responsibility. You brought them into this world, therefore you take the responsibility to care for them and help them and give them everything, fully equip them so that when they are of that age to make their own decisions, then they have the tools in which to do it with. And you mentioned about education. You know, it's kind of sick to keep hearing this word, education. And now, what do we mean by education? It's assimilation. We feel that the higher someone goes in school, that he's going to become more intelligent, which isn't true. I know a lot of people who went to college and university and is as dumb as a box of rocks today, you know. And I know a lot of people who never went to school, but you know something? They have what they call common sense, you know, and they're more realistic about things, you know. People who go to school and everything. I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm saying learn everything you possibly can. But like you said earlier, you should have a background at least of who you are. You need to have a foundation of who you are before you go out there. I mean, there's this story about Chief Seattle sending 10 young men off to the white man's school, and then the white man sent 10 of his. And when they came back, he says, you sent us 10 boys, we sent you 10 men. We sent you 10 boys, and you sent us back 10 people who can't do anything. You sent us back useless. You gave us broken people. And this is what we have today in our territory. We have a hell of a lot of broken people because we don't know who we are, and we don't even know who those people around us are. So what do we know?
Well, and again, I'm in what I would call somewhat of a defense for higher education, what they call higher education. What I would say the value of it is to learn how not to be assimilated. But you have to understand what that system is to almost to avoid it. So if you go into pursuing a college degree with that in mind, that you're going to make sure you carry who you are with you, and that you're only becoming more aware of what their systems are about, then there's justification. But if all you're going to do is go there and become more and more indoctrinated into their system, then when you come back, you are useless to us. Look, it's 1:45. We got to take another break, and we'll finish up the first hour in this next segment. All right, this is John Kane and company, and we'll be back. All right, thanks for coming back. This is John Kane, and I've got Paul Delarone, Matt Hill, Ed Schindler, and Ross Johnson.